Like, OMG, you guys, this is going to be the worst video of all time. And you don't know why? Oh, I'm here to tell you why. It's because of the patriarchy. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another spooky season review, guys. This time for the 2015 horror release from Paul Tremblay. This is Head Full of Ghosts, a book that I didn't really hear very much about, and then all of a sudden I couldn't stop hearing about it. So a little older now. This received all kinds of accolades when it came out, up to and including the Bram Stoker Award in 2015, so this was kind of a big deal. But like this big deal all around, I think when it came out, because it did get a lot of people realizing that there hadn't been very many books written about, actually possession again. It was like one of those kind of things where it was a very, very popular thing, but every once in a while people were like, yeah, we're just really spoofing on The Exorcist. So it kind of, the genre just kind of went away. And Paul Tremblay, is one of the things he said he wanted to do with it was kind of bring that back. I think he has, because I've noticed several. In fact, I'm reading another possession book as we speak right now. But with this one, guys, it does have a feature film adaptation that's been kind of stewing around in post-production or pre-production there for a while, being done by Robert Downey Jr. and his wife are actually doing it. And I can't think of the actress's name. Annie McDowell's daughter. She's in The Leftovers. Anyway, I can't remember her name, but she's supposed to be in the movie. But guys, we are here today to talk about this book. It first got on my radar when I was talking to Fonda Lee. She wrote the Greenbone Saga. When I was interviewing her, we started talking about horror, and she said this was one that she would recommend for me, and that's why I immediately put it onto my spooky season list this year, guys. So very, very exciting spooky season this year, and this one was a pleasant surprise because I liked it quite a bit, guys. And that horrible, horrible cold opening that I did, if you've read the book, you'll understand, and I'll kind of talk about why I did that here as we go along. But first, as always, guys, we got to talk about what is Head Full of Ghosts about. Well, the lives of the Barretts, a normal suburban New England family, are torn apart when 14-year-old Marjorie begins to display signs of acute schizophrenia. To her parents' despair, the doctors are unable to stop Marjorie's descent into madness. As her stable home devolves into a house of horrors, they reluctantly turn to a local Catholic priest for help. Father Wanderley suggests an exorcism as he believes the vulnerable teenager is the victim of demonic possession. He also contacts a production company that is eager to document the Barrett's plight. With medical bills looming, the family agrees to be filmed and soon find themselves the unwitting stars of The Possession, a hit reality television show. When the events in the Barrett household explode in tragedy, the show and the shocking incidents it captures become the stuff of urban legend. 15 years later, a best-selling writer interviews Marjorie's younger sister Mary. As she recalls those long-ago events that took place when she was just 8 years old, long-buried secrets and painful memories that clash with what was broadcast on television begin to surface. And a mind-bending tale of psychological horror is unleashed, raising vexing questions about memory and reality, science and religion, and the very nature of evil, guys. This takes us back to 2015. This is A Head Full of Ghosts. Now we're going to begin like usual, guys. Talk about what makes this book good or bad. I'm going to start with the good here. I love the way that he does slice of life. This is very, very convincing. Kind of someone who grew up and the family was kind of struggling a little bit, so I kind of got a little bit of familiarity with some of the things that were going on, some of the things these kids were doing together. I love how he captures the way that a normal suburban family, just the normal just nuclear family would kind of react to this kind of event going on. And then, of course, you're shoving cameras in everybody's face while it's going on as well. But I think of the sibling games that Marjorie and Mary are playing in this. Just took me back to my childhood. My brother grew up Gen X, guys. We didn't have, the internet or devices. Didn't have, maybe 3 channels on television on a black and white TV that was like this big. Grew up a little below the poverty line, so we had to use our imagination a lot. And some of the games that are kind of playing, like one part where she's, using her finger to write on her back, and you kind of got to guess the word that she's spelling. I was like, that is something me and my brother did. So that was very cool. So I think he captures the way that siblings will interact with one another. And I mean, obviously, it was me and my brother. This is 2 sisters. So you would think it would be a little different, obviously. So I can't say I've experienced exactly what they experience. Not just 2 sisters or 2 brothers. I think that it really does remind me of those things that I did when I was a kid. So I think that stuff is all good. The way they watch their TV programs together and things like that before things start to really, really go to hell. It just brings back some of those memories of what it was like growing up in that time period. But I do like that he does touch on, usually I like to avoid this stuff, but I like the way that he does this here, is how a household that has conflicting religious views can start to fall apart after a while. Because it can be, I know several people that are like married, and they have different political views or different religions. Like I just, I mind my business. I let them do their own thing. And I think that goes well for a while, but eventually it's going to crack, especially when there's a crisis or, things start to really, really hit the skids like it does in this book. And I think that he handles that very, very tastefully. He doesn't feel like he's disrespectful to anyone. Like I know some of these things, like there's another book I'm reading right now, which I'll talk about, next week probably, where I feel like it's saying, well, if you believe this, this, or this, you're bad. And if you believe this, 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 you're good. This he kind of just leaves it, but they obviously disagree on these things, and I think he handles that in a good way, and it's very realistic. It is very, very realistic, So if one person is very, very heavy religious and one person is not, it's going to cause some strain on between spouses, I think. And I think he does touch on that in a way that does seem very, very realistic. And in this situation, obviously, it's going to be a lot of trouble. It can lead to a lot of trouble. I think the flashback narrative is handled very well. It's something I've said recently I don't like. Like, I just read Little Heaven by Nick Cutter. And while I like the book, I'm getting really, really tired of no authors being able to tell their story in sequential order. I think all this, just because it's a generation that grew up on Pulp Fiction now that's writing books, and they want to write everything just all out of order, and I get that. And it works a lot of the time, but sometimes it's like, I just want to get back to that other time period, either the current story or the flashback. This, I like both. Now, what I usually don't like is I feel like, okay, well, if you're telling me the fate of these characters before I've gotten to see them, only Stephen King is able to do that and still get away with it. Whereas with this, it never really does that much. You just know that there was some kind of like big shocking end to this, and you don't really know the whole story. But I like that you've got the older version of Mary talking about this. But you also get it from her point of view as, an 8-year-old, and then, of course, her reflecting upon it as a young adult. And I think that that's done very, very well. And it kind of goes to certain points, and then you get a little bit more, and then when you get that big surprise at the end, it actually surprises you. And guys, this ending is an all-timer. I'm not even kidding. I don't even want to tell you. I just say that I thought, oh, well, this is predictable. I can see where this is going. Nope. No, you do not, because it is absolutely stunning. My jaw was on the floor. I could not believe what I had just read. So I did my weekly update, and I said, as long as he sticks the landing, I think this has a good shot to be my book of the month. He stuck the landing, guys. It's very, very good. It's not exactly, maybe not leave you with good old happy fuzzies, but guys, you're reading a horror novel. I don't think that you should go into it expecting to leave with a smile on your face unless you're just into some of those kinds of things, and no judgment if you are. I like some of those things as well. But I think he keeps you guessing in this book if Marjorie is actually possessed or if it's something else. I think that that's done really well. And I think you still have questions. That's one of those things where I don't feel like it's, I needed some answers, because I think there are some things that are kind of left ambiguous. This isn't as cut as dry as The Exorcist is or something. But there are some things where you can be like, I can see this, but I can also see that. So I think there is going to be some conflicting point of views, and there is going to be some people who have differences of opinion on what actually happens in some things in this book. But I in no way think you're going to leave with that feeling of, I didn't get an answer to anything. I think it's just going to kind of be, what do you believe? That's where it's going to kind of lead you. And I kind of like that. I think this is a good kind of format to do that. I like he presents the ideas with, because this reality TV was really blowing up. After the writer's strike in 2007, then we got reality TV for like the next 5 years. And I think he kind of touches on that time period here where it's just showing how much of this is actually, on camera and how much of this is you acting for the camera. And I've always said that about, I think that reality TV is more scripted than, scripted TV is, so he does get a lot of that. There's some things where it's like, with the dad, it's like how much of this is for the camera and how much of this is, actually how you feel. I get that. I do love the obvious hat tips to The Exorcist, but this isn't just a play-by-play of The Exorcist. I mean, it's clear that the author has great love for William Peter Blatty's story, as do I. So if he was being disrespectful to it, I would not like that. But there are some things about that we'll touch on here as we get into what makes it not so good. I don't want to necessarily call this bad because I've gotten some people say they liked it. I absolutely abhor the actual like blog entry post, the last girl, whatever blog entries. Like you're reading these interludes with a blogger who's talking in hindsight about this television series, The Possession, that they're filming. And guys, it is some of the most cringe stuff I have ever read in my life. Now, I know that's probably what the author was going for. So if that's what he was going for, bravo, sir, you did it. But guys, this stuff is awful. It is awful. Like to the point where I almost put the book down. It was so bad. It is just so, oh my God, like it just, It kind of felt like a way for the author to kind of voice some of his complaints about what was going on in the real world at the time. And I understand that, but it's just done like in such a painfully bad way that I just wanted to kind of just keep flipping the pages. But I said, you know what? What if these come around to play in the main storyline? So I did not skip them because I had some people tell me that you could skip them. And I kind of joked in the intro there about the patriarchy is because the character writing these blog entries uses the word patriarchy so many times. It's almost like you keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. And it's just, and again, if he's trying to be abrasive about it, again, he hit the mark. You know, he really did. But I don't know. It's not because I agreed or disagreed with anything that the character was saying. It was just like, this is like I am reading a Swifties Twitter timeline right now. It is painfully bad. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Now that I have finished the book, I think you could skip them and be fine. I think when you get the revelation of who is actually writing these, it's not that big of a reveal. It's not that surprising. And I don't think it changes the story because you find that out in the main storyline, not in these interludes. And I don't think it changes anything. So I've had several people tell me they think skipping it ruins everything about the book. I don't think so. I think you could skip them and it's a better book for it. And if I reread this, I would absolutely 100% skipped it. But guys, thankfully, there is only 3 of those interludes in the book. One of them's kind of long, you know, so there's that. But again, it comes down to where you fall on it. If you can kind of look at it, is it just kind of being tongue-in-cheek and kind of being meta about the story that you're reading? Maybe you'll be into that. To me, I don't know, 45-year-old guy, it was really hard for me to read something that just, like I said, read like a Swiftie, just ranting about stuff on Twitter. That's what it sounded like to me. So, personally, not for me, but they might be for you. Well, skip them. Doesn't really change, but if you want to read them, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If you think I'm wrong about it, but thankfully, guys, that's the only thing I have really bad about this book. It's a really good book, so it leads me to my final thoughts. I think this was a damn good book. Incredible way that he builds a little sense of dread, the way that he just does kind of the haunting feeling that's what's going on in this house. Like I said, you're kind of in limbo. Is this real? Is this not? You don't really know. It's kind of a mystery the whole way. But I think I like this enough, guys, and I like his writing style, his prose, his dialogue is really good. I like enough that I'll definitely be picking up more books from him. I think it's The Cabin at the End of the World is the other one that I have by him. But I think it's clear that this guy, he's going to be a horror novelist, and he has no problems going to dark places. Now, I notice that a lot with modern horror is they are kind of scared to treat their characters bad. And I'm like, guys, you're writing horror. Bad things are going to happen to them. And it's just kind of like that thing, like I was ranting recently about the Scream movies, about how it used to be Ghostface would stab somebody and they died. Now, two Ghostfaces are just turning someone into Swiss cheese, and 3 scenes later they're fine. You know, or somebody getting stabbed with a lightsaber and they're just fine. You know, that's just seems like that's the kind of place that we've gotten to with the writing. And so I'm glad that he has no problems doing some things that other people would be like, oh, clutching their pearls. You know, like if you go on Goodreads and you read the low ratings on this, if they aren't complaining about the blog entries, I'm talking about, some are talking about how like, oh, they didn't like how disturbing things were. I'm like, guys, you're reading a horror book. Why are you going in this looking for puppy dogs and rainbows? That's not what I'm here for personally as a horror reader. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. That is the whole point of the genre. But I like that it's a quick read, guys. It never overstays its welcome outside of those blog entries, and you'll be able to read this in a couple of days. It's really flows quick. Not a lot of filler in there, and I could have actually spent a little more time with this family because I think his slice of life was really good. And I think it's in my running for my favorite book of spooky season right now. I think that, Little Heaven, and I'm currently reading my best friend's Exorcism, and I think one of those 3 might end up being in a triple threat match for my book of the month this month. So I'm very, very excited, very happy with how spooky season has turned out so far. So I just wanted to let you guys know, I think this one is definitely a recommend. Again, the stuff with those blog entries, that's just going to kind of depend on you. But other than that, the main story in this, really, really solid and a great, great first read from Paul Tremblay that I will definitely be considering reading more of. So, guys, have you read Head Full of Ghosts? Did those blog entries bother you as much as they bother me? It was no really big deal. Do you think you can skip them? What did you think about the actual story? Do you think the character was possessed or not? Hey, these things are all fun to talk about below. So hit me in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.